I lay curled on the icy porch steps, coat torn and lip bleeding, listening to the warm laughter of the family whose debts I had just paid. The door slammed, leaving me with the biting cold and my stepmother's declaration that I was no longer family. I thought I would fade away in the snow until a window across the street lit up. A calm voice called out, telling me not to move because he had recorded everything. My name is Lauren Carter, and at 32 years old, with 10 years of trauma care experience under my belt, I should have known better than to walk into a hemorrhage without a tourniquet. But family has a way of making you forget your training. I am standing in the foyer of the house I grew up in, a 2-story colonial in Cedar Hollow that smells of pine needles and deception. It is Christmas night. The air outside is 5 degrees below zero, but in here, the heat is suffocating, thick with the scent of roasted turkey and expensive perfume that I probably paid for without knowing it. I moved back to Cedar Hollow 3 months ago. I told myself it was for a change of pace, to get away from the 18-hour shifts in the city emergency room where I stitched up gunshot victims and held the hands of dying strangers. I thought the quiet of a small town would heal the burnout. I was wrong. The city was honest about its violence. Cedar Hollow wraps its cruelty in tinsel and family obligations. I am sitting at the dining table. The mahogany surface is polished to a mirror shine. My stepmother, Mary Ann, sits at the head of the table where my father used to sit. Her husband, Rick, a man who smells perpetually of stale tobacco and breath mints, sits to her right. My step-siblings, Kayla and Dylan, are across from me. They are adults now, 24 and 26, yet they look at me with the same petulant hostility they had when we were teenagers. The dinner starts normally enough. We pass the potatoes, we pass the gravy, but the silence is heavy. It is the kind of silence that precedes a code blue alarm. I keep my head down, cutting my turkey into small, precise squares. I just want to survive the next 2 hours. I just want to eat, say the polite phrases, and go back to my small apartment on the other side of town. Then Marianne clears her throat. It is a sharp, deliberate sound. "Lauren, we need to talk about your attitude," she says. Her voice is sweet, cloying like syrup that has been left out too long. I look up, fork halfway to my mouth. "Excuse me?" "You have been back for 90 days. Lauren," Rick says, wiping grease from his chin with a linen napkin, "and not once have you offered to help out around here. You act like a guest in the house that raised you." I feel the muscle in my jaw jump. "I paid the electric bill last month." "Rick, it was $400. You said you were short because of the car inventory issues." "That is exactly what we mean." Kayla chimes in. She is scrolling on her phone, not even looking at me. "You throw money at things like it makes you better than us. You think because you lived in the city and wore scrubs that you are some kind of saint? It is condescending." I put my fork down. The metal clatters against the china. I did not come here to fight. I came for Christmas dinner. Rick reaches under the table. He pulls out a thick manila envelope and drops it onto the centerpiece. The impact makes the candles flicker. We are past dinner. "Lauren, we are on to the reckoning." My heart rate spikes. I recognize that adrenaline. It is the fight or flight response kicking in. "What is that?" I ask. "Evidence," Marianne says. She takes a sip of her red wine, her eyes locked on mine. "We found these in your father's old files. Insurance papers. My father has been dead for 5 years. The grief is a dull ache that never really leaves. But hearing them use his name makes it sharp again. What are you talking about?" Rick opens the envelope. He slides a stack of papers across the mahogany. They fan out like a winning poker hand. Accusations in black and white. "You took the payout," Rick says. His voice is rising now, gaining a theatrical edge for the benefit of the aunts and uncles sitting in the living room, pretending to watch the football game while listening to every word. "The life insurance policy? The one for $50,000? You told us it lapsed. But here are the withdrawal records." I stare at the papers. I see numbers, dates, signatures. I pick one up. My hand is trembling, not from fear, but from a sudden, blinding rage. This is dated 3 years ago. I was in Chicago. I did not sign this. Do not lie, Dylan says, speaking for the first time. He leans forward, his face flushed. You have been bleeding this family dry since Dad died. You claimed the money was gone so Mom would have to struggle. You wanted her to fail so you could swoop in and play the hero. I look at the signature on the document. It is a looped, messy scrawl. It looks nothing like mine. This is a forgery, I say, my voice steady, professional. This is not my handwriting, and I never touched Dad's insurance. That money went to pay off the mortgage. Mom, you know that. You were at the bank with me. Marianne slams her wine glass down. The stem snaps. Red wine bleeds onto the white tablecloth, spreading like a gunshot wound. Do not call me Mom, she hisses. You have been plotting against us. We checked the credit reports. Lauren, we know about the loans. Loans? I ask. The room feels like it is tilting. Rick throws another stack of papers at me. They slide off the table and scatter onto the floor. Personal loans, credit cards, financing for a truck I have never seen, all under the name Lauren Carter, all linked to this address. I look down at a statement lying by my boot. It shows a balance of $12,000 on a credit card I have never opened. I feel bile rise in my throat. I did not take these out. I say, standing up. My chair scrapes loudly against the hardwood. You did. You used my social security number. That is identity theft. How dare you? Marianne screams. She stands up too, her face twisting into a mask of victimhood. After everything we did for you, we took you in. We raised you. And you try to sell the house out from under us? The house. We have finally arrived at the core of the infection. This house was supposed to be mine, I say. The words come out colder than the air outside. Dad told me. He wrote it down. He wanted me to have the house so I could always take care of you. Marianne. But the will disappeared the day after the funeral. Rick laughs. It is a dry barking sound. There was no will. Lauren, that is just another one of your fantasies. But since you brought it up, let us settle this. He pulls a final document from the bottom of the pile. It is crisp, stapled, and looks official. He holds out a pen. This is a family agreement, Rick says. It states that you acknowledge your debts to the family for your education and upbringing. It transfers any potential future claim you have on this property to Marianne and me to cover the money you stole. Sign it, and we do not call the police about the insurance fraud. I look at the document. It is a trap, a clumsily built, legal bear trap. I lean in close, looking at the bottom of the page, and there it is, a signature that tries to be mine, already inked on the witness line. You already forged my name on the back page. I say, you just need me to initial the front to make it look real. I grab the paper and rip it in half. The sound of tearing paper is shocking in the silent room. I am not signing anything, I say, and on Monday morning, I am calling the fraud department. The explosion happens instantly. Kayla is the first to move. She lunges across the table, her fingernails clawing at my arm. You selfish bitch, she screams. I stumble back, catching my hip on the corner of the sideboard. Pain shoots down my leg. I try to push her off, using a defensive maneuver I learned in the hospital for restraining violent patients. But then Dylan is there. He grabs my shoulders and shoves me hard. I go flying backward. My spine collides with the wall. The impact knocks the wind out of me. I gasp, trying to fill my lungs, but Rick is already in my face. He is a big man, heavy with muscle and fat, and he uses his bulk to pin me against the plaster. You think you are better than us? Rick spits the words. You think you can threaten us in our own house? Let me go, I wheeze. Marianne steps through the chaos. She looks calm, terrifyingly calm. She walks up to where Rick has me pinned. The relatives in the living room are standing now, watching. Aunt Sarah has her hand over her mouth. Uncle Bob is looking at the floor. No one moves. No one speaks. They are the silent audience to my execution. Marianne raises her hand. I see the gold ring on her finger, the one my father bought her for their 10th anniversary. You are a Cancer, Lauren, she says softly. Then she swings. Her palm connects with my cheekbone with a sickening crack. My head snaps to the side. My vision goes white at the edges. I taste copper. My lip is split. The ring has cut the skin. "Get her out of here," Marianne commands. Rick grabs the collar of my coat, my expensive wool coat that I bought with my first bonus check, and yanks me toward the front door. I stumble, my feet tangling in the rug. I try to grab the door frame to anchor myself. "No," I scream. "My medical kit is in the kitchen. My keys." "You do not need keys." Rick grunts. He wrenches the door open. The winter air hits me like a physical blow. It is frigid, biting, and absolute. He shoves me. I fly across the threshold, my boots losing traction on the welcome mat. I flail, trying to catch my balance, but gravity wins. I crash onto the porch. My knee hits the wood hard. My head slams against the railing post. Pain explodes in my skull. For a second, the world is just a blur of spinning lights and darkness. Marianne appears in the doorway. She is holding my handbag. She throws it at me. It hits my shoulder and slides across the ice-covered planks, spilling my lipstick and a few tampons into the snow. "If you want to be independent, go be independent outside," she yells. Then she slams the heavy oak door. I hear the deadbolt slide home. 1 click, 2 clicks, finality. I scramble up, slipping on the ice, and pound on the wood with my fist. "Let me back in. My car keys are on the table. I will freeze to death." The only answer is the volume of the music rising. "Have a Holly Jolly Christmas" blasts through the walls, muffled but distinct. I can hear laughter. They are laughing. The tension has broken. The scapegoat has been cast out, and now they can enjoy the feast. I slide down against the railing. My head is throbbing with a rhythm that matches my heartbeat. I touch my lip and pull my fingers away red. My coat is torn at the shoulder seam where Rick grabbed me. The cold is already seeping through my clothes, hunting for my body heat. I look at the driveway. My car is blocked in by Dylan's truck and Rick's sedan. Even if I had my keys, I could not leave. I am 3 miles from the nearest gas station. It is midnight. The temperature is dropping. I curl into a ball, pulling my knees to my chest. The shock is starting to wear off, replaced by the deep, aching cold. I close my eyes. It would be so easy to just sleep. Hypothermia is a gentle killer, they say. It starts with shivering, then confusion, then a warm, sleepy numbness. I am debating whether to just let it happen, to let the snow cover me up so they find my frozen body on their doorstep in the morning like a grim decoration, when the world changes. Across the street, the house that has been dark for months suddenly wakes up. A floodlight cuts through the darkness, illuminating the falling snow like diamonds. Then, a window on the second floor glows yellow. The blinds twitch. They slide open. I squint against the glare, my vision blurry. The window opens. A man is standing there. He is silhouetted against the light, but I can see he is holding something. He leans out. His voice carries across the silent, frozen street. It is deep, calm, and incredibly precise. "Lauren, look up here," he says. I freeze. I do not know this man. I wipe the blood from my chin and look up. "I am your neighbor across the street," he continues. "My name is Miles. Do not move, and do not try to go back to that door." "Why?" I croak out. My voice is weak, stolen by the wind. He points to something mounted on the corner of his roof, a small black eye with a red light blinking steadily in the darkness. "Because," he says, his voice devoid of emotion but full of authority, "my camera has a 4,000 pixel resolution and night vision. It just recorded every single thing they did to you. From the shove in the hallway to the moment they locked you out. I have it all." I stare at him. The cold is still biting. But suddenly, I do not feel like dying anymore. I feel something else. I feel the tiny, hot spark of a weapon being placed in my hand. "Come to my front door," Miles says. "The cocoa is hot, and the hard drive is saving." The heat in Miles's living room is different from the heat across the street. Over there, the air was thick with roasting meat and expensive perfume, a cloying warmth that felt like it was trying to smother you. Here, the warmth is dry and clean. It smells of electronics and old books. I am sitting on a leather sofa that has seen better days, a heavy wool blanket draped over my shoulders. My teeth have finally stopped chattering, but the deep, bone-level chill is still sitting in my marrow, waiting for a chance to surface again. Miles is in the kitchen. I can hear the specific, methodical sounds of him making hot chocolate, the clink of a spoon, the hum of a microwave. He is not rushing. He moves with the economy of motion I used to see in senior trauma surgeons, men who knew that panicking never stopped a bleed. I press a bag of frozen peas wrapped in a towel against my left cheekbone. The pain is a dull, throbbing rhythm, syncing with my heartbeat. Every time I blink, I see Marianne's hand coming toward my face, the flash of gold, the impact. But as the adrenaline fades, replaced by the heavy exhaustion of the survivor, my mind does not stay in the present. It drifts back. It starts pulling threads from the last decade, trying to stitch together exactly how I ended up bleeding on a frozen porch on Christmas night. It did not start tonight. Tonight was just the moment the tumor finally broke through the skin. The sickness had been there for years. I think it started the day my father died. He was a good man, a quiet man who worked at the packaging plant for 30 years. He died of a heart attack on the factory floor, holding a shipping manifest. I was 22 then, just finishing nursing school. The grief was so heavy I could barely breathe. But Marianne did not seem to have trouble breathing at all. She had trouble calculating. Within 6 months of the funeral, Rick moved in. Marianne told me she needed him. She said she was drowning in the silence of the big house. She said Rick was a businessman, a man who understood how the world worked. Rick sold used cars at a lot out by the highway, a place where the vehicles always looked shiny, but smelled faintly of mildew if you got too close. He came with a leather jacket, a loud laugh, and a mountain of personal debt that Marianne conveniently forgot to mention. I remember the first time I became the solution. I had just landed my first job at the county hospital. I was making entry-level wages, working the graveyard shift, sleeping 4 hours a day. I came home one morning, eyes burning from exhaustion, to find Marianne sitting at the kitchen table, weeping over a stack of envelopes. "It is the roof. Lauren," she had sobbed. "The insurance from your dad is gone. It just evaporated with the funeral costs and the taxes. And now the roof is leaking into Kayla's bedroom. I do not know what to do. I might have to sell the house." The house. That was always the trigger. I had $5,000 in my savings account. It was everything I had scraped together from picking up extra shifts and eating ramen noodles. I wrote the check. I told myself it was my duty. I told myself this was what families did. They carried the burden together. That was the first lie. Over the next 5 years, the definition of family expanded, but the definition of who carried the burden narrowed down to just one person: me. Rick was always on the verge of a big break. He had a deal coming through. He had a buyer for a fleet of trucks, but in the meantime, the electric bill needed to be paid. The property taxes were due. The water heater exploded, and every time, Marianne would look at me with those wide, watery eyes and say the same thing. "We are a team. Lauren, you are the strong one. You are the only one who can handle this." I wore that label like a badge of honor. The strong one. It made me feel valuable. It made me feel like I was filling the hole my father left. I did not see that they were hollowing me out to fill it. I looked down at my hands, resting on the gray wool of the blanket. My knuckles are raw from pounding on the door. I remember the year Kayla decided she wanted to go to a private design college 3 states away. The tuition was astronomical. Rick said he would co-sign the loans, but his credit was shot. So Marianne came to me. "She is your sister, Lauren," she had said. "She has dreams, just like you did. Do you want her to be stuck in this town forever?" I signed the papers. I paid the deposits. 6 months later, Kayla dropped out because she missed her boyfriend and the classes were too early in the morning. The tuition money was gone, non-refundable. When I brought it up, Marianne told me I was being harsh. She said Kayla was finding herself. Kayla found herself a new iPhone every September. Dylan found himself a used dirt bike that sat rusting in the garage. Rick found himself a rotation of leased trucks, and I found myself working 60 hours a week, picking up overtime on holidays, missing birthdays and weddings so I could send checks to Cedar Hollow. There was one night, about 3 years ago, that stands out with crystalline clarity. I was living in the city by then, working in a level 1 trauma center. I had just finished a 12-hour shift dealing with a multi-car pileup. I was covered in other people's blood and exhausted down to my soul. My phone rang. It was Marianne. She was hysterical. "They are taking the car. Lauren," she screamed. "Rick's car. The repo man is in the driveway right now. Rick needs it for work. If he loses the car, he loses the job, and we lose everything." I asked how much. $3,000, she said, just to catch up. I told her I did not have it. I had just paid my own rent and my own student loans. "Please, Lauren," she begged. Her voice cracked, a sound of pure desperation. "You are the only one I can trust. Everyone else leaves me or fails me. You are my rock. Do not let me crumble." I sat on the floor of my empty apartment, weeping silently, and transferred the money from my emergency fund. I saved Rick's car. 2 weeks later, I saw a photo on Facebook of Rick and Marianne at a casino weekend in Atlantic City. When I asked about it, Marianne said Rick needed to blow off steam because the stress of the repo threat had been so hard on his heart. I was the bank, but they were the ones earning the interest. Miles walks into the living room. He sets a steaming mug on the coaster in front of me. "Drink," he says. "It has high sugar content. Good for shock." I wrap my hands around the mug. The heat seeps into my frozen palms. "Thank you," I whisper. He sits in the armchair opposite me, watching me with those sharp, analytical eyes. He does not ask if I am okay. He knows I am not. "You are thinking about how long this has been going on," he states. "It is not a question." I nod. "I am thinking about the house," I say. My voice sounds raspy. The house in Cedar Hollow is not a mansion. It is just a 4-bedroom colonial with white siding and black shutters. But it was my father's pride. He bought it when I was born. He spent every weekend fixing it up. I remember a Sunday afternoon, 2 weeks before he died. We were in the garage. He was sanding an old chair. He wiped the sawdust from his hands and pulled a yellow legal pad from his workbench. "Lauren," he had said. Looking me in the eye, I wrote something down, just in case. He showed me the page. In his blocky, all-caps handwriting, he had written that if anything happened to him, the house was to be held in trust for Marianne to live in. But the ownership, the deed itself, was to go to me. He wanted to make sure I always had a home to come back to. He died before he could take it to a lawyer. After the funeral, when the dust settled, I asked Marianne about the legal pad. I asked about the will. She looked at me with a face made of stone. "Oh, that," she said, waving a hand dismissively. "The lawyer saw it. He said it was garbage. Just scribbles. It is not legal. Lauren, the house goes to the surviving spouse. That is the law." I asked to see the lawyer's note. She said she lost it. I asked to see the legal pad. She said she threw it out while cleaning the garage because it was too painful to look at his handwriting. I believed her, or maybe I just did not want to call my grieving mother a liar. I let it go. I let her keep the house. I kept paying for the repairs on a house I thought was hers, because I thought I was being a good daughter. But looking back now, through the lens of a camera that recorded me being thrown off that porch, I see the pattern. Every time I started to pull away, the guilt increased. When I stopped visiting as often, Marianne developed vague, undiagnosable ailments, migraines that lasted for days, heart palpitations that vanished when she got to the ER. She would call me, voice weak, asking why I had abandoned her. "You have forgotten your roots," she would say. "You think you are too good for us now that you live in the big city." So I would send flowers. I would send gift cards. I would come home for Christmas, like a dutiful soldier returning to the front lines, only to be ambushed. I take a sip of the cocoa. It is rich and dark, and it burns my throat in a good way. Tonight was different. I say to Miles, Tonight they did not just ask for money, they tried to erase me. Miles leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. They tried to force you to sign a quitclaim, he says. I saw the paper on the video. I zoomed in when Rick held it up. That was a transfer of assets. I nod. They forged my signature on the last page. They just needed me to initial the front. They wanted to make sure I could never touch that house. Why now? Miles asks. I stare at the steam rising from the mug. Why now? Why? After 10 years of bleeding me slowly, did they decide to amputate? Because I stopped the flow, I realize. 2 months ago, I told Marianne I could not pay the property tax bill. I told her I was saving for a down payment on my own apartment in the city. I told her it was time for Rick to step up. That was the trigger. I threatened their supply line, and a parasite does not react well when the host tries to detach it. They accused me of stealing Dad's insurance money. I say, the realization tasting bitter on my tongue. They projected everything they did onto me. They created a narrative where I am the villain so they could justify cutting me out while keeping everything I paid for. Miles stands up and walks over to a bank of monitors on the far wall. He taps a keyboard, and a screen flickers to life. It shows the street outside. It is silent and empty now. The snow is covering the tracks I made when I crawled across the road. They made a mistake, Miles says quietly. What mistake, I ask. They thought you were still the girl who paid the roof bill, he says. They thought you were still the daughter who believed the lie about the family burden. They did not realize that when they threw you out into the cold, they broke the only thing keeping you loyal. He turns to look at me. The blue light from the monitors reflects in his glasses. You are not their daughter anymore. Lauren, you are a witness, and witnesses can be very dangerous things. I touch the bandage on my arm where the doctor at the clinic will look tomorrow. I think about the credit report Rick threw at me, the loans I never took out. I think about the house my father promised me. I am done being the rock. I say. Miles nods. Good, because rocks do not fight back, but avalanches do. He moves to the window and pulls the curtain back just an inch. Get some sleep, Lauren. Tomorrow, we go to the urgent care, and then we start digging. I lie back on the sofa and pull the wool blanket up to my chin. Across the street, the lights in my childhood home finally go out. Marianne and Rick are sleeping, probably thinking they have won. They think the cold will silence me. They think the shame will keep me away. They have no idea that the girl they threw out into the snow died on that porch. The woman who is waking up tomorrow morning is someone they have never met before. And she has the receipts. The mug of cocoa in my hands is warm, but my fingers are still vibrating with a tremor I cannot control. It is not just the cold anymore. It is the adrenaline crash, the physiological cost of survival. I am sitting on the edge of the leather sofa in Miles's living room, staring at the far wall. It is not a normal living room wall. It looks like the control center for a private security firm. There are 6 monitors mounted in a precise grid, each one feeding a live stream of the street outside. I see the intersection. I see the alleyway behind the houses. And, most terrifyingly clear, I see the front porch of the house I grew up in. Miles is sitting in a swivel chair, his back to me, typing commands into a keyboard with a rhythmic, percussive clatter. He is a man of contradictions. He wears a faded flannel shirt and comfortable slippers, looking like any other retiree in Cedar Hollow, but his posture is rigid, alert, and his equipment is definitely not something you buy at the local electronics store. I take a sip of the cocoa. The sugar hits my system like a drug. Why do you have all this? I ask. My voice sounds thin in the quiet room. Miles spins the chair around. His face is lined, framed by gray hair that is thinning at the temples, but his eyes are sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. We had a series of break-ins 2 years ago. He says, drugs moving up from the city, people stealing packages, checking for unlocked car doors. I decided I did not like being blind, so I installed a system that covers the entire frontage of the street. He gestures to the center screen. It is high definition. Lauren, night vision, audio pickup. It does not just see, it listens. I swallow hard. So you saw it happen? You saw them push me? I did not just see it. He says, I have it. He turns back to the console. Do you want to see it? Every instinct in my body screams no. I lived it 10 minutes ago. My cheek still throbs where Marianne's ring cut the skin. My hip aches where I hit the railing. But the nurse in me, the part that is trained to look at the wound to assess the damage, takes over. Yes, I say. Miles clicks a mouse. The center screen expands. The timestamp in the corner reads 10:42 at night. The image is monochrome but razor sharp. I see the front door of my father's house fly open. I see myself stumbling out, looking small and off balance. I see Rick, his bulk taking up the entire doorframe, shoving me with both hands. I watch myself fly backward. I see my boots slip on the ice. I see my head snap back against the wooden post. Then comes the sound. It is clearer than I expected. The microphone must be directional. I hear the thud of my body hitting the wood. It is a sickening, wet sound. Then Marianne's voice cuts through the speakers, high and shrill. If you want to be independent, go be independent outside. I flinch. Hearing it again is worse than hearing it the first time. The first time, I was in shock. Now, watching it on a screen, I am an observer. I am watching a crime. Miles pauses the video right at the moment the door slams shut. On the screen, I am lying on the porch, curled into a fetal position. Jesus, I whisper. Look at the time, Miles says, pointing to the corner of the screen. They left you there for 8 minutes before I opened my window. The temperature is currently 4 degrees below zero. With the wind chill, it is -10. He turns to look at me, his expression grave. In a court of law, Lauren, that is not just assault. That is reckless endangerment. If you had passed out, if you had hit your head harder and gotten a concussion, you could have frozen to death in an hour. I stare at the frozen image of myself. I look like a pile of discarded laundry. They would not let me die, I say, the old defense mechanisms kicking in automatically. They were just angry. They were trying to scare me. Miles raises an eyebrow. Really? Look at Rick's face. He zooms in. The resolution holds. Rick's face is twisted in a snarl of pure aggression. There is no hesitation there, no concern. And look at this, Miles continues. He rewinds the footage 30 seconds. I watch the moments before I was shoved. The door is open. I can see into the hallway. I can see Marianne throwing my purse, but behind her, further back in the foyer, I see Kayla. My stepsister is holding her phone up. She is filming, Miles says. She is recording you being thrown out. I feel a wave of nausea. She was posting it? Or just keeping it for leverage? Miles leans back, interlacing his fingers. This brings me to my next question. Lauren, and I need you to think very carefully before you answer. He waits until I meet his gaze. If they are willing to do this to you physically, in front of witnesses, with the door open, what have they been doing to you on paper when the doors are closed? The question hangs in the air like smoke. I think about the credit report Rick threw at me, the loans, the car financing. They said I stole money. I say, but the papers, they had my name on them. They had my social security number. Miles nods slowly. Identity theft within families is rarely a one-time event. It is usually a lifestyle. Think back. Have you ever seen mail come to the house with your name on it that you did not open? I close my eyes, forcing my memory to work through the fog of pain. I remember a few months ago, I was visiting for a weekend. The mailman dropped a bundle of letters through the slot. I bent down to pick them up. There was a thick envelope from a bank I did not use. It was addressed to Lauren Carter. Before I could tear the strip off, Marianne had snatched it out of my hand. Junk mail, she had said, laughing a little too loudly. They send these credit offers to everyone. I will shred it for you so you do not have to worry about fraud. I had thanked her. I had actually thanked her for protecting me. I open my eyes. The bank statements. I whisper. Marianne always insisted on getting the mail. She said she liked to organize everything. Miles sighs. It is a sound of weary recognition. She was intercepting the notices. That is how they kept the credit lines open without you knowing. They open the account, use the money, and when the bank sends a late notice, they throw it in the trash before you ever visit. He turns back to the computer. We need to secure this footage, right now. Why? I ask. It is on your computer. Computers crash. Miles says simply, hard drives fail, and sometimes, houses catch fire. If Rick realizes I have this, or if he saw my light come on, he might try something stupid. We do not take chances with the only leverage you have. He pulls a small, silver external hard drive from a drawer and plugs it into the console. He starts a file transfer. Then, he opens a browser window. I am uploading a copy to a cloud server with military-grade encryption. He explains as his fingers fly across the keys. And I am emailing a compressed version to an attorney I used to work with in Chicago. By the time the sun comes up, this video will exist in 4 different physical locations. I watch him work. The efficiency is mesmerizing. He is not acting like a nosy neighbor. He is acting like a professional. Miles, I say, who are you? He pauses, his hand hovering over the mouse. He looks at the screen for a long moment before turning to me. I was a civil litigator for 30 years, he says. I specialized in estate disputes and family fraud. My mouth falls open slightly. You are a lawyer? He corrects. I had a minor stroke 2 years ago. The doctor said the stress was killing me. He told me to find a quiet town, retire, and watch the birds. So I moved to Cedar Hollow. He gestures vaguely at the screens. I found out that human nature does not change just because you move to the suburbs. The birds are nice, but the predators are still the same. He hits the enter key. A progress bar appears on the screen. Upload complete. He spins the chair to face me fully. I have seen hundreds of cases like yours. Lauren, the details change, but the story is always the same. A parent or a sibling decides that their need for money outweighs your right to a life. They justify it by saying they raised you, or that you owe them. They weaponize the word family until it means hostage. He stands up and walks over to the window, peering out through the slat in the blinds. But this video? This changes the game. This shifts the power dynamic from he said. She said to, here is the felony. I feel a strange sensation in my chest. It is hope, but it is sharp and jagged. Why are you helping me? I ask. You could have just called the police and stayed inside. You brought me into your house. You are getting involved. Miles stays silent for a long time. He watches the empty street, the snow swirling under the streetlights. I had a daughter, he says softly. The past tense hits me hard. She got married to a man who smiled a lot and had a temper he kept hidden. He continues, I saw the signs. I saw the bruises she tried to cover with makeup. I saw the way she flinched when he raised his voice. But I was a lawyer. I believed in due process. I told her to document it. I told her to build a case. I told her to wait until she had enough evidence to win full custody. He turns from the window. His eyes are dry, but they look incredibly old. I told her to wait, and one night, he went too far. I was waiting for the law to protect her. I should have just opened the door and pulled her out. The room is silent except for the hum of the computer fans. I do not know what to say. There is nothing to say to that kind of pain. So when I saw you on that porch tonight, Miles says, his voice regaining that steel composure, I did not wait. I am not making that mistake twice. He walks back to the desk and pulls a sticky note from a pad. He writes a name and a number on it. This is what you are going to do, he says. The tone is not a suggestion. It is a strategy. You are going to sleep on my guest sofa tonight. You are not going to answer your phone. You are not going to text Kayla back. You are going to go dark. I nod. Go dark. I can do that. Tomorrow morning, at 8 o'clock, I am driving you to the Ridgeway Urgent Care Clinic, he says. It is 2 towns over. We are not going to the local one where Marianne knows the receptionist. You need an unbiased medical report. He hands me the sticky note. While we are waiting for the doctor, you are going to call this number. Her name is Tessa Monroe. She was my junior partner before I retired. She is sharp. She is vicious when she needs to be, and she hates bullies. She will handle the legal side. I look at the name, Tessa Monroe. It feels like a lifeline thrown into a stormy sea. But I have no money, I say, the reality crashing back in. They drained my accounts. I have $12 in my wallet. Lawyers cost thousands. Miles waves his hand dismissively. Do not insult me. Lauren, pro bono work is the only way I can sleep at night. Tessa owes me a favor. Actually, she owes me about 50 favors. She will take the case. He looks at me, his expression softening just a fraction. Your job right now is not to worry about the money. Your job is to survive the night and let the bruises form. We need them dark and ugly for the photos tomorrow. I touch my face again. It feels hot and swollen. Thank you, I whisper. It feels inadequate. Do not thank me yet, Miles says grimly. We have not even started the war yet. He turns off the overhead light, leaving the room illuminated only by the blue glow of the monitors. I am going to keep watch, he says. Try to sleep. I lay back on the sofa, pulling the blanket tight around me. I watch the monitors over his shoulder. The street is dead quiet. The snow is piling up on the porch where I was lying an hour ago. Then, I see movement on the screen. In the living room of my father's house, a shadow moves across the window. It is Marianne. I can tell by the shape of her hair. She is standing there, looking out at the street, looking at Miles's house. She cannot see me. I know she cannot see me, but I feel her gaze like a physical weight. She reaches up and grabs the heavy velvet curtains, the ones I bought for her 2 Christmases ago because she said the draft was making her cold. She yanks them shut. The light from their living room disappears, sealing the house up tight. She thinks she is closing the curtains to hide their shame. She thinks that if she cannot see the outside world cannot see her. But she is wrong. I look at the hard drive sitting on Miles's desk, the little blue light blinking rhythmically as it backs up the data. Blink, blink, blink. It is the heartbeat of my revenge. Marianne has closed the curtains, but she is too late. The window across the street has already seen everything, and unlike me, the window is not going to be silenced, and it is certainly not going to be gaslit. I close my eyes, and for the first time in 10 years, I do not feel responsible for them. I just feel the cold calculation of the triage nurse taking over. The patient is critical. The wound is deep, but the bleeding has stopped. Now, we prepare for surgery. The waiting room at Ridgeway Urgent Care smells of antiseptic floor cleaner and stale coffee. It is 8:15 in the morning on December 26th. The holiday cheer that usually permeates these places, the tinsel wrapped around the receptionist's desk, the cardboard Santa in the corner, feels like a mockery. I am sitting in a vinyl chair that sticks to my jeans, holding an ice pack against my ribs. Miles is sitting next to me. He is wearing a heavy wool coat and reading a 3-month-old magazine, but his posture is alert. He looks less like a neighbor and more like a bodyguard. When the nurse calls my name, she looks at my face and pauses. It is a professional pause, the kind I used to make when a patient walked in with a story that did not match their wounds. "Lauren Carter?" she asks. I stand up. My hip screams in protest. "I am here," I say. Miles stands up with me. "I am accompanying her," he says. "I am a witness to the incident." The nurse looks from my bruised cheek to Miles's stern face. Usually, they do not allow non-family members back, but there is something about Miles, maybe the lawyerly authority he projects, that makes her nod. "Come on back," she says. Exam room 3 is cold. I sit on the crinkly paper of the exam table. The doctor, a young man named Dr. Evans, who looks like he has not slept in 2 days, comes in with a tablet. He asks me what happened. I hesitate. The shame is a physical weight in my throat. It is one thing to know your family hurts you. It is another to say it out loud to a stranger with a medical license. "I fell," I start to say. Miles clears his throat. It is a sharp, distinct sound from the corner of the room. "Lauren," he says, his voice gentle but firm, "we are here for the record. Tell him the truth." I look at Dr. Evans. He stops typing and looks at me. His eyes are kind. I was pushed. I say, my voice is barely a whisper. I was pushed off a porch onto the ice by my stepfather, and my stepmother hit me. Dr. Evans nods slowly. He does not gasp. He does not look shocked. He just taps the screen. Okay, let us take a look. He examines my face first. The bruise on my cheekbone has bloomed into a magnificent shade of purple and black, shaped vaguely like the palm of a hand. He measures it. He checks my eye for hemorrhage. Contusion on the left zygomatic arch. He dictates into the tablet. No orbital fracture detected, but significant soft tissue swelling. He asks me to lift my shirt. I flinch as the cool air hits my skin. There is a dark, ugly bruise wrapping around my right rib cage where I hit the railing post. Rib contusion, possible hairline fracture, he says. We will need an X-ray to be sure. He checks my arms. There are scratches on my forearm where Kayla's nails dug in, and a distinct, hand-shaped bruise on my upper arm where Rick grabbed me. Defensive wounds on the forearm. Dr. Evans notes, bruising on the humerus consistent with a forceful grip. He finishes the exam and sets the tablet down. He looks at me, then at Miles, then back to me. Ms. Carter, he says quietly, do you feel safe going home? I almost laugh. It would be a hysterical, broken sound. No, I say, I am not going home. I can provide you with resources for domestic violence shelters, he offers, and we are required to report this if you want to file charges. I look at Miles. He steps forward. We are handling the legal side. Doctor, Miles says, but right now, what we need is the documentation. I need you to be very specific in your notes. Do not just write patient reports being pushed. Doctor, Evans looks at Miles. What are you asking for? I need you to write, injuries consistent with assault, Miles says, and mechanism of injury matches patient description of forceful ejection from residence. The doctor pauses, then nods. That is an accurate medical assessment. I can do that. 40 minutes later, I walk out of the clinic with a CD containing my X-rays and a printed summary of my visit. I hold the papers tight against my chest. In the hospital. We call this the chain of custody. You document the trauma so that later, when the wounds fade, the truth remains. This packet of paper is the first brick in the wall I am building. The drive back to Miles's house is silent. The adrenaline from the exam is wearing off, replaced by a cold, calculating numbness. I am slipping into work mode. I am not Lauren the victim anymore. I am Lauren the triage nurse, assessing the casualties of a mass casualty event where the only victim is me. When we get inside, Miles points to the guest room. Go rest, he says. I cannot. I say, I need to know. Know what? I need to know how bad the bleeding is. I sit down at Miles's dining table and plug my phone into his charger. It powers up. I have 17 missed calls from Marianne, 4 from Rick, 12 text messages from Kayla. I do not open any of them. I do what Miles said. I go dark. Instead, I open my email app. I have not checked my personal email in 3 days. The inbox is cluttered with holiday sale notifications and newsletters, but there, buried near the top, is an alert from a bank I do not recognize. First Horizon Lending. Subject: Urgent. Payment past due on your personal loan. My stomach drops. I click it. Dear Lauren Carter, this is a reminder that your monthly payment of $450 was due on December 20th. Please remit payment immediately to avoid further penalties. I stare at the screen. $450 a month. That implies a loan of at least $15,000 or $20,000. I look at Miles. He's in the kitchen, making toast. Miles, I say, my voice is remarkably steady. Do you have a pen? He brings me a legal pad and a pen. I write down the reference number from the email. Then I put the phone on speaker and call the number. An automated voice answers, Welcome to First Horizon Lending. To access your account, please enter your social security number. My fingers tremble as I punch in the numbers. Thank you. Lauren, the voice says cheerfully, we show a past due balance, Would you like to pay with the account ending in 4492? I freeze. I do not have an account ending in 4492. That is not my bank. I hit 0. I hit it again and again until the music starts and a human being comes on the line. First Horizon, this is Sarah. How can I help you? I need information on a loan in my name. I say, I think there has been a mistake. I did not take out this loan. Sarah sighs. It sounds like she hears this 10 times a day. Ma'am, for security. Can you verify your address? I give her my address in the city, the apartment I have lived in for 3 years. I am sorry, that does not match what we have on file. Sarah says, try 512 Maple Street, Cedar Hollow. I say, my heart is hammering against my bruised ribs. That matches, Sarah says. And the contact number? I ask. It is a landline ending in 6601, she says. That is Marianne's house phone. Who is the secondary contact? I ask. One moment, Sarah says. I hear typing. Secondary contact is listed as Marianne Carter. Relationship, mother. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Okay, I say. Sarah, listen to me. I did not authorize this loan. When was it taken out? 6 months ago, she says. It was an online application, electronically signed. How, I ask. How could you approve it without talking to me? We received a notarized temporary power of attorney document along with the application. Sarah says, it authorized Marianne Carter to act on your behalf for financial instruments related to property maintenance. Power of attorney? The room spins. I never signed a power of attorney. Yes, ma'am, Sarah says, sounding defensive now. We have the scan on file. It was emailed from your registered email address. My registered email address? Yes, laurencarterutilities@gmail.com. I hang up. I do not say goodbye. I just press the red button. laurencarterutilities@gmail.com. I know that email address. I open my laptop, which I managed to grab in my bag before they threw me out. I log into my main email and search for that address. It comes up in a thread from last August. From Marianne Carter to Lauren Carter. Subject, water bill setup. Honey, the water company is changing their system. They need a separate email login for the tenant portal so I can manage the bills without bothering you every month. Can you create this email address for me? I just need you to verify it once. I remember that day. I was on a double shift. I created the account on my phone while eating a sandwich in the break room. I sent Marianne the password. I thought I was helping her pay the water bill. I log into Lauren Carter Utilities. The password has been changed. Of course it has. I go back to my main email. I search for power of attorney. Nothing in the inbox. I check the trash. Nothing. I check the spam folder. And there it is. A forwarded message from a print shop in Cedar Hollow, dated 4 months ago. Subject, scanned doc 092223. I open the attachment. It is a PDF. It is a standard limited power of attorney form, and at the bottom, in blue ink, is my signature. I stare at it, bewildered. It is my real signature. It is not forged. It is my loop, my sharp L, my trailing N. Then I see the date next to the signature. August 15th. I pull up my calendar. August 15th. I was in Cedar Hollow for a weekend visit. We were sitting at the kitchen table. Marianne was sorting through a pile of paperwork. Lauren, she had said, sliding a paper across the table. This is just the renewal for the house insurance. Since the deed is technically in that trust limbo, the agent needs a signature from you saying I can handle the payments. Otherwise, the premium goes up. I remember looking at the paper. It was mostly covered by other papers. I saw the words authorization and insurance. I saw the sticky note she had placed that said, sign here. I signed it. I signed it between bites of a bagel, trusting the woman who was pouring my coffee. I look at the PDF again. The section that says purpose of authorization is typed in a different font than the rest of the form. It says, to obtain credit, loans, and manage financial liabilities for the purpose of property maintenance. They filled it in later. I signed a blank check. I signed away my financial life because I was too tired to read the fine print and too trusting to suspect my own mother figure was a shark. I look up. Miles is standing over me. He has been watching me for the last 5 minutes. "What did you find?" he asks. I turn the laptop screen toward him. "They took out a loan for $15,000. I say, using a power of attorney. I signed thinking it was for house insurance, and they created a fake email address that I set up for them to manage the correspondence." Miles leans in, adjusting his glasses. He reads the document. He reads the email chain. He lets out a low whistle. "This is elegant," he says. "Evil, but elegant." He pulls a chair out and sits next to me. "Do you see what they did?" he asks, pointing to the screen. "They did not just steal your money. Lauren, they built a system where you were complicit. If you go to the police now, they will pull out this document. They will say, 'Look, she authorized it. She set up the email. She gave us the password.'" I feel the cold spreading from my chest to my fingertips. "So I can't do anything?" I ask. "Is it legal?" Miles shakes his head. "No, it is fraud. It is fraud by deception. But proving that you did not know what you were signing is much harder than proving a forgery." He takes the laptop from me and starts saving the files to his hard drive. "However," he says, his voice dropping to that low, dangerous register again, "they got greedy. Look at the date on the loan application." I look, September 1st. And look at the date on the power of attorney, August 15th. "Now look at the notary stamp," Miles says. I squint at the stamp on the bottom of the PDF, notarized by Rick J. Henderson. "My stepfather is a notary," I whisper. "He has a stamp for his car business." "Exactly," Miles says, "and a notary cannot notarize a document for a transaction in which they have a direct financial interest, nor can they notarize a signature if the person was not present at the time of the stamping." He looks at me. "Was Rick in the room when you signed this?" "No," I say. "He was at the car lot. It was just me and Marianne." Miles smiles. It is a cold, shark-like smile. "Then the document is void, and using a void document to secure a bank loan is bank fraud. That is a federal crime." He closes the laptop with a snap. "This isn't just a domestic dispute anymore. Lauren, this is a RICO case in a starter home." I look at my hands. They are the hands of a nurse. They are used to fixing things, stitching skin, setting bones. But this is a cancer that has spread through the lymph nodes of my life. I feel a strange shift inside me. The tears that were threatening to fall earlier have evaporated. The fear of Marianne's anger is gone. In its place is a cold, hard clarity. I pick up the legal pad. I turn to a fresh page. "What are we doing?" Miles asks. I click the pen. "I am starting a new chart," I say. "Patient name. My future. Diagnosis. Parasitic infestation. Plan of care. Radical excision." I write down First Horizon Lending. Next to it, I write fraud. Then I write Call Credit Bureau. Miles watches me, and for the first time, he looks impressed. "Welcome to the fight, Lauren," he says. I look at the window, at the house across the street. Marianne is probably in there right now, drinking coffee, thinking she is safe because she has a piece of paper with my signature on it. She thinks she owns me. She is about to find out that she just handed the scalpel to the surgeon. The guest bedroom in Miles's house has become my command center. It is a small room with pale blue walls and a single window that looks out onto the backyard, away from the street, away from the house that I can no longer call home. I have pushed the desk against the wall and set up my laptop. To anyone else, it might look like I'm preparing for a remote work shift, but inside my head, I am scrubbing in for surgery. For the last 10 years, I worked in emergency medicine. The first rule of triage is to stop the bleeding. You cannot fix the broken bones or the internal damage until you ensure the patient has enough volume to keep their heart beating. In my life, the bleeding was digital. It was passwords, access codes, and shared accounts. I start with the basics. I log into my Google account. I go to the security tab. I see devices logged in that I do not recognize. An iPhone 14 in Cedar Hollow, A desktop computer running Windows 10. That is Rick's office computer. They have been inside my digital head for years. I click sign out of all other devices. It is a small button, but pressing it feels like severing a limb. Somewhere across the street, in that house, a connection just died. I change my password. I make it 30 characters long, a random string of nonsense that has nothing to do with birthdays or anniversaries. Then I turn on two-factor authentication. I set it to an authenticator app, not SMS, because Miles warned me that text messages can be intercepted if someone knows your carrier details. When I finish, I sit back. My phone pings. It is a notification. Security alert, password changed. For the first time in my adult life, I am the only person in the room with me. Now that the perimeter is secure, I start building the chart. In the hospital, if you do not document it, it did not happen. A patient can come in with a gunshot wound, but if the intake nurse does not log the time, the vitals, and the entry wound characteristics, the legal case falls apart before it even reaches the courtroom. I create a master folder on my desktop. I name it XMass Incident. Then, I start creating subfolders. I name them with the same clinical detachment I used to label biohazard samples. Folder 1, Video Evidence. Folder 2, Medical Reports. Folder 3, Financial Audit. Folder 4, Communication Logs. Folder 5, ID and Legal. I plug in the hard drive Miles gave me. I drag the video files over. There are 3 of them. The main event, the aftermath where they left me outside, and a clip from earlier in the evening showing my arrival. Miles comes into the room. He's holding a fresh pot of coffee. He looks at my screen and nods. "You need to check the metadata," he says. He leans over and shows me how to right-click on the video file and open the Properties tab. "See this?" He points to a string of numbers. That is the hash value. It is a digital fingerprint. It proves the video has not been altered or edited. We need to log that. I open a spreadsheet. I type in the file name, the timestamp, 10:42 post-meridian, December 25th, and the hash value. I write a description. Subject, Lauren Carter, forcibly ejected from domicile by subjects. Rick Henderson, Marianne Carter. Audio confirms verbal abuse and intent to harm. It looks cold on the screen. It looks undeniable. Next, I move to the financial audit. This is the part that hurts. The bruises on my ribs are aching, a dull throb that flares up every time I take a deep breath. But the pain of looking at my credit report is sharper. I pull up the full report Miles paid for. It is 40 pages long. I start calling the banks. I put my phone on speaker so I can type while I talk. The first call is to a credit card company I have never heard of. The balance is $4,500. "Thank you for calling Citigroup. This is Michael. How can I help you?" "My name is Lauren Carter." I say, my voice is flat. I am looking at a credit card account on my report, ending in 558. I did not open this account. "Okay, Ms. Carter, let me pull that up. I see the account was opened 2 years ago. It has been in good standing until this month." 2 years ago, that was the year Dylan totaled his car and needed a lawyer. "Can you tell me the email address associated with the account?" I ask. "It is listed as carterfamily22@gmail.com. I type that into my spreadsheet, carterfamily22. Another fake email, another layer of insulation they built to keep me in the dark. "I need to dispute this, Michael. This is identity theft." "I can start a fraud claim, ma'am, but I see payments have been made from a checking account with the name Lauren Carter on it for the last 24 months. My heart stops. They did not just use my name for the credit card. They put my name on the checking account they were using to pay it. Probably a joint account they opened when I was a teenager and never took me off of. That makes it look like I knew. I realize that makes it look like I was participating. I did not authorize those payments. I say, "I understand," Michael says, his voice losing some of its warmth. "But since the account has been active for 2 years, the investigation is going to be complex. You will need to file a police report." "I will," I say. I hang up. I log the call. Time, 9:15 Anti-Meridian. Agent. Michael. Outcome. Dispute initiated. Note. Link to joint checking account. I go down the list. There is a loan for new windows. $6,000. There is a line of credit at a furniture store. $3,000. There is a personal loan from an online lender. $8,000. I calculate the total. It is over $40,000. $40,000 of debt anchored to my Social Security number. Keeping their lifestyle afloat while I worked double shifts and ate vending machine sandwiches. I was not just their daughter. I was their financial oxygen tank. And when I tried to cut the supply, they panicked and attacked. I feel a tear slide down my cheek. I wipe it away angrily. There is no room for crying in the operating room. I switch to the communication logs folder. This is the excavation phase. I need to prove that their intent was manipulation. I need to prove the pattern. I log into my old email, the real one. I search for keywords: help, please, money, loan, sign. I find an email from 3 years ago. From Marianne. Subject: emergency. Lauren, baby, please call me. Rick is in trouble with the supplier. We just need a signature to bridge the gap until his commission check clears next week. You know we always pay you back. We are a team. Family helps family. I print it to PDF. I find a text thread from last Christmas. Marianne. The heater died. It is going to be $1,200. I do not know what we are going to do. I am sitting here in my coat crying. Me. I can send half, Mom, but that is all I have. Marianne. You are an angel. I do not know what I would do without you. Can you wire it to Rick's account? It is faster. I screenshot the text. I paste it into a document. I highlight the date. I highlight the amount. Then I check my bank statement from that same week. A transfer of $600. And then I check the weather report for Cedar Hollow for that week in history. The low was 45 degrees. It was unseasonably warm. And I checked the permit records for the county. Miles showed me how to do this. No permit was ever pulled for a furnace replacement at that address in that year. There was no broken heater. They just wanted Christmas money. I stare at the screen. The betrayal is so absolute it feels chemical. It burns. Every "I love you," every "you are a good daughter" was a transaction fee. They were invoicing me for their affection. I save the file as Evidence 04 Fake Heater Scam, PDF. By noon, I have a timeline. I have a spreadsheet that correlates my visits home with credit inquiries. I have a list of notarized documents that Rick stamped illegally. I am not just building a defense, I am building a weapon. Miles knocks on the doorframe. Lunch, he says, and then you have a phone call to make. We eat sandwiches in the kitchen. I show him the spreadsheet. He puts on his glasses and runs his finger down the columns. This is good, he says. This is very good. You are thinking like a prosecutor. He hands me a business card. It is thick, cream-colored cardstock. Harborline Legal Aid. Tessa Monroe. Senior attorney. I called her this morning. Miles says, she is expecting your call at 2 o'clock. She specializes in financial coercion and domestic abuse. She is not cheap, usually, but she owes me for a case I handed her back in 2018 involving a senator and a hidden trust fund. She is going to take you on a contingency basis for the civil suit. I look at the card. My hand is shaking slightly, but not from fear. It is the vibration of a machine engine revving up. I call at exactly 2 o'clock. Harborline Legal Aid. This is Tessa. Her voice is husky, confident, the voice of a woman who does not take prisoners. Ms. Monroe, this is Lauren Carter. I say, Miles told me to call. Lauren, she says. The tone shifts instantly. It becomes focused, laser sharp. I have the video Miles sent over. I have watched it 3 times. I have to tell you, it made me spill my coffee. And I never spill my coffee. I take a deep breath. I have more. I say, I have a spreadsheet of fraudulent loans. I have proof of a power of attorney that was notarized illegally by the beneficiary. I have emails linking the debts to their address. There is a silence on the other end, a respectful silence. Well, Tessa says, you have been busy. Can you come in tomorrow at 10? We need to file for an emergency protective order, and then we need to draft a letter to the credit bureaus that will scorch the earth. I will be there, I say. I hang up. I feel lighter. I have a general now. I am not fighting alone in the trenches. Then, my phone starts to buzz. It vibrates against the wooden desk like an angry insect. I look at the screen, a text from Kayla. Mom is crying. She says you blocked her. How can you be so cruel? It was just a fight. We are family. Buzz. Another one. Dylan. Rick is pissed. He says if you try to make trouble, he's going to tell everyone about your mental breakdown in the city. He says he knows things about your job. Buzz. Marianne. Lauren, please, pick up. I made your favorite pie. We can talk about this. I found the diadem you left. Come get it. Do not destroy us over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. That is what they call assault and grand larceny. My thumb hovers over the reply button. I want to scream at them. I want to type out every number in my spreadsheet and send it to them. I want to tell them I know about the fake heater and the fake insurance papers. But I stop. I remember what I learned in the trauma unit. When a patient is thrashing and screaming, you do not scream back. You restrain them. You check the monitors. You administer the sedative. Responding gives them data. Responding tells them I am listening. Responding tells them I am still the Lauren who craves their approval. I take a screenshot of Kayla's text. Save to folder. Messages, a harassment. I take a screenshot of Dylan's threat. Save to folder. Messages/threats. I take a screenshot of Marianne's guilt trip. Save to folder. Messages/manipulation. Then I put the phone face down. I am not the audience for their drama anymore. I am the archivist of their downfall. I stand up and walk to the window. The sun is setting, casting long, bruised purple shadows across the snow in the backyard. I feel exhausted, but it is a good exhaustion. It is the exhaustion of a 12-hour shift where you save the patient. I touch the bandage on my arm. The pain is still there, sharp and real. But for the first time in 24 hours, the fear is gone. They think they are besieging me with texts. They think they are surrounding me. They do not realize that I am not trapped in here with them. I am just in the prep room, sharpening the instruments. Tomorrow, I meet Tessa. Tomorrow, the file named Xmas Incident stops being a diary and starts being an indictment. I go back to the computer, close the folders, and watch the desktop icons line up like soldiers. System secure. Backup complete. Evidence locked. I am ready. I wake up on the third day at Miles's house to the buzzing of my phone. It is not an alarm. It is a siege. I have a new number now. One that only Miles, Tessa, and the bank fraud department have. But my email is still the same. And the internet, as it turns out, is a very small town. I open my inbox to find 5 messages from people I went to high school with. People I have not spoken to in 10 years. The subject lines are variations of, "Did you really do this?" and "I cannot believe you." One of them includes a link. I click it. It takes me to Facebook, specifically to Kayla's profile. There is a photo posted 6 hours ago. It is a masterpiece of staging. Kayla is standing in front of the house, my father's house, wearing a thick sweater, looking small and vulnerable. Her eyes are red-rimmed, likely from onions or cheap mascara, but the effect is undeniable. She looks like a child abandoned in the snow. The caption is an essay. It breaks my heart to even type this. She begins, "But our family is under attack. My sister, Lauren, who we have supported and loved through everything, came home for Christmas and physically attacked our mother. She was screaming that the house wasn't good enough for her now that she's a big city nurse. She pushed Mom, trashed the living room, and then ran off, leaving Mom having a panic attack on the floor. Now she is ghosting us while Mom is sick with worry. I never thought money and a degree could change someone so much. Please pray for our family." I scroll down. The comments are a cesspool of small-town judgment. Mrs. Gable from the church choir. "I always knew there was something cold about her. Poor Marianne. Praying for you all." Kevin, who cheated off me in chemistry. Classic. Gets a little money and thinks she is too good for Cedar Hollow. Hope she stays gone. A random cousin from Rick's side. Nurses are the worst. They see so much death they lose their souls. Stay strong. Kayla. I feel the heat rising in my chest. It is a suffocating, burning rage. They are rewriting reality. They are taking the night I was beaten and freezing on a porch and turning it into a story where I am the villain. I open a blank document. My fingers hover over the keyboard. I am going to destroy them. I am going to post the video. I am going to post the medical report. I am going to upload the PDF of the forged power of attorney and tag every single person in that comment section. You want the truth? I type, here is the truth. Here is the video of Rick throwing me like a sack of garbage. Here is the bruise on my face. A hand touches my shoulder. I jump. It is Miles. He has come in with coffee, and he is looking at my screen. Don't, he says. I spin around. They are lying. Look at this. Miles. They are turning the whole town against me. If I don't say anything, everyone will believe them. Let them believe, Miles says calmly. He reaches over and closes my laptop lid. Lauren, listen to me. This is a trap. If you post that video now, on Facebook, you lose control of it. Rick's lawyer, if he gets one, will argue that you edited it. They will argue that you violated their privacy. They will say you are engaging in cyber harassment. He hands me the coffee. Right now, you are a victim who is silently building a legal fortress. If you engage in a comment war, you become just another participant in a family drama. Judges hate family drama. They love evidence. Do not give them the satisfaction of a reaction. I know he is right. The rational part of my brain knows he is right. But the part of me that is still the hurt daughter is screaming. So I just let them trash me? I ask. You let them dig their own grave, Miles corrects. Every lie they tell is another point we can disprove in court. Let them paint themselves into a corner. When we drop the evidence, the paint will still be wet. I take a breath. I nod. Okay, no Facebook. I go back to my phone. I see a voicemail notification. It is from a blocked number. Marianne. I press play. Her voice fills the small room. It is thick with tears. The kind of performance she used to give when she wanted a discount at the grocery store. Lauren, are you there? You are killing me. Lauren, how can you do this? The neighbors are asking questions. Mrs. Higgins saw the police car at the urgent care. What are you telling people? You are ruining our reputation. We are a good family. Call me back, or I don't know what I will do. She does not ask if I am hurt. She does not apologize for the slap. She worries about Mrs. Higgins. I save the voicemail. Folder. Messages, guilt trips. 5 minutes later, a text comes through from another unknown number. It is Rick. He does not bother with tears. You ungrateful little brat. I heard you're sniffing around about the loans. You think you are smart? You are a reverse gold digger. We fed you. We housed you. And now you want to sue us over some paperwork errors? Go ahead. Try it. I will tell the court about your mental breakdown in Chicago. I will tell them you are unstable. I will tell them you made it all up for attention. Keep pushing, and I will make sure you never work as a nurse again. My hands start to shake. The threat hits a nerve. My license is my life. If he files a complaint with the nursing board, even a fake one, it could tie me up in investigations for months. Panic starts to rise, cold and sharp. Maybe I should stop. Maybe it is not worth it. Then I look at the phrase paperwork errors. He just admitted it. He just called $40,000 of fraud paperwork errors. I take a screenshot. I save it. Folder. Messages, admission of guilt. I open the Notes app on my laptop and type a new entry. Subject. Rick Henderson. Date. Deck 27. Threatens professional sabotage to conceal financial crimes. Admits to paperwork errors regarding loans. They are handing me the ammunition. They are so arrogant. So used to me being the scared little girl who signs whatever they put in front of her, that they do not realize they are confessing on record. My phone rings again. This time, it is a name I recognize. Sarah Jenkins. Sarah is a nurse I used to work with in the ER. She is tough, smart, and has zero tolerance for nonsense. We haven't spoken in 6 months, not since I moved back to Cedar Hollow. I hesitate, then answer. Hello? Lauren? Sarah's voice is sharp. What the hell is going on? I just saw a screenshot of your sister's post. Someone sent it to the hospital group chat. I brace myself. I wait for the accusation. I wait for her to ask why I beat up my mother. I commented bullshit on it. Sarah says, but I need to know. Are you okay? Because I know you. Lauren, you don't hit people. You are the one who buys sandwiches for the homeless guys in the waiting room. I feel a lump form in my throat. It is the first time in 3 days someone has defended me without being paid to do it. They hit me. Sarah, I say. My voice cracks. Rick threw me off the porch. Marianne slapped me. They have been stealing my identity for loans. I knew it, Sarah says. I can hear the vindication in her voice. I knew those people were parasites. Remember when your mom called the ER desk demanding your schedule so she could plan a surprise? I told you then. That woman has boundary issues. She pauses. Are you safe? I am safe, I say. I am with a neighbor. I have a lawyer. Good, Sarah says. Do you need me to come down there? I can swap shifts. I can bring my bat. I laugh. It is a wet, choked sound, but it is a laugh. No bats. Sarah, we are doing this legally, but thank you for not believing it. Honey, anyone who knows you knows that post is fiction. Sarah says, ignore the noise. Focus on the chart. Focus on the chart. It is nurse speak for focus on the facts. Ignore the emotion. I hang up. The panic has receded, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. I spend the rest of the afternoon processing the data. I download every mean comment. I screenshot every lie. I organize them by timestamp. I see the pattern now. It is a coordinated attack. Kayla posts the emotional hook. Marianne plays the victim to the neighbors. Rick acts as the enforcer, sending threats to keep me silent. It is a machine, a dysfunction machine that has been grinding me down for years. But the machine is malfunctioning. They are escalating because the usual inputs, guilt and fear, are not producing the usual output, compliance. Evening falls. I sit in Miles's living room, the laptop closed on my lap. The house is quiet. Miles is in the kitchen making tea. I look out the window, across the street. The lights are on in my father's house. I can see shadows moving. I imagine them in there. Marianne is probably pacing, checking her phone, waiting for me to call and beg for forgiveness. Rick is probably drinking a beer, feeling powerful because he sent that text. Kayla is probably refreshing her Facebook feed, feeding on the likes and the sympathy comments like a vampire. They are putting on a show, a tragedy in 3 acts, the ungrateful daughter. But they forgot one thing. The audience has changed. I am not watching from the front row anymore, crying and trying to fix the script. I am watching from the projection booth, and I am the one holding the original reel. Miles walks in and hands me a mug. How are you holding up? He asks. I look at the house one last time. I see the flicker of the television in their living room. I am fine, I say, and I mean it. They are working so hard. I continue. They are writing posts, calling neighbors, making up stories. They are exhausted. And you? Miles asks. I take a sip of tea. I am just saving files. I say, I realize then that the power has shifted. They are scrambling to control the narrative. I am just waiting to introduce the facts. Let them have Facebook, I think. Let them have the church choir and the gossiping neighbors. I will take the judge. The office of Harbor Line Legal Aid is located in a brick building downtown, sandwiched between a bail bondsman and a bakery. It does not smell like the high-priced corporate firms in the city that reek of leather and intimidation. It smells of old paper, coffee, and desperate determination. I am sitting across from Tessa Monroe. Miles was right about her. She is not warm. She does not offer me a tissue or a sympathetic pat on the hand. She is wearing a charcoal suit that looks sharp enough to cut glass. and her eyes are scanning my spreadsheet with the precision of a radiologist looking for a tumor. She is about 40, with hair cut into a severe bob and a pen that she taps rhythmically against her chin. So, let me get this straight, Tessa says, not looking up from the screen. They forged a power of attorney, took out $40,000 in consumer debt in your name, and when you stopped paying their bills, they physically assaulted you and locked you out in sub-zero temperatures. Yes, I say. And you have video of the assault, but no video of the forgery? I have the metadata from the email. I say, leaning forward. The power of attorney was emailed from an account created on my phone, but the document itself was notarized by my stepfather, who is a beneficiary of the funds. Miles said that voids it. Tessa stops tapping. She looks up. A slow, predatory smile spreads across her face. Miles is still sharp. She says, yes, that voids it, and it also makes it a felony. She turns her monitor so I can see it. She has opened a file named Carter v. Henderson. It is the first time I have seen my name opposed to theirs in black and white. It looks like a battle line. We have 3 problems here. Lauren, Tessa says, holding up 3 fingers. First, your safety. You are a single woman living in temporary housing. They are volatile, they are desperate, and they know where you are. Second, the money. You are currently on the hook for $40,000. If we do not freeze this, your credit score will be single digits by February. Third, and this is the one that interests me the most, the house. She leans back. Why the house? I ask. It is just the scene of the crime. Tessa shakes her head. In domestic financial abuse cases, the house is never just a house. It is the leverage. It is the asset they dangle over you to keep you compliant. She buzzes her intercom. David, can you pull the county land records for 512 Maple Street? I need the deed history, the mortgage liens, and any filings under the name Thomas Carter going back 10 years. She turns back to me. While David looks for that, let us watch this video. I have seen the footage 3 times now. It does not get easier. I watch myself fly off the porch. I watch Rick slam the door. Tessa watches it without blinking. She does not gasp. She does not look away. She watches it like a coach studying game tape. Pause it there, she says, pointing to the screen. I hit the spacebar. The image freezes on Rick's face as he shoves me. Look at his grip, Tessa says. He is not just pushing you. He is anchoring his feet. He intends to cause damage. This is not a heat-of-the-moment scuffle. This is a removal. She picks up a notepad and writes, aggravated assault, and underlines it twice. We are going to file for an ex parte protective order immediately, she says. This video guarantees a judge will sign it before lunch. That means if Rick or Marianne comes within 500 feet of you, they go to jail, no warnings, no discussions, jail. I nod. I feel a wave of relief, a legal shield. Now, the fraud. Tessa continues. We are going to send a demand letter to the lenders. We are going to attach the police report we are filing today and the affidavit regarding the illegal notary stamp. We are going to claim identity theft. It will freeze the accounts. Won't that make them angry? I ask. Tessa laughs. It is a dry, sharp sound. Oh, they are going to be furious. They are going to lose their free money. But anger makes people sloppy, and sloppy people make mistakes. The door opens. A young man, David, walks in holding a stack of papers. He looks confused. Tessa, he says, I pulled the records. What do we have? Tessa asks. Is the mortgage underwater? No, David says. The mortgage was paid off 5 years ago. I blink. That was the insurance money. I say, they used Dad's life insurance to pay off the house. That is what they told me. David shakes his head. No, the mortgage was paid off by a wire transfer from the Thomas Carter Testamentary Trust. The room goes silent. Trust? I ask. Dad didn't have a trust. He just had a will that Marianne said was invalid. Tessa grabs the papers from David. She flips through them rapidly, her eyes scanning the dense legal text. Her eyebrows shoot up. Well, 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 she whispers. What is it? I ask. My heart is pounding. Your father was smarter than you gave him credit for. Lauren, Tessa says. She lays the document on the desk. Look at this. It was filed with the state registry 6 months before he died. It is a separate entity from his will. A will goes through probate court, which is messy and public. A trust operates privately. She points to a paragraph on the second page. The Thomas Carter Irrevocable Trust. It holds the title to the property at 512 Maple Street. I read the words, but they do not make sense. Marianne always said the house was hers. She said the deed transferred to her automatically. Tessa runs her finger down to the section titled Beneficiaries. Primary beneficiary, Marianne Carter, for the purpose of residence during her lifetime or until remarriage. My breath catches in my throat. Until remarriage, I read aloud. Tessa looks at me. Marianne is married to Rick Henderson, correct? Yes, I say. They got married 4 years ago. Tessa smiles. It is a smile that could strip paint off a wall. Then read the next line. Lauren. I look at the paper. Secondary beneficiary. Lauren Carter. Upon the remarriage of the primary beneficiary, or the death of the primary beneficiary, the title of the property shall transfer to the secondary beneficiary, provided she has maintained gainful employment for 2 consecutive years. I sit back in the chair. The room feels like it is tilting. Gainful employment, I whisper. I have been a nurse for 10 years. Tessa slams her hand on the desk. It is a sound of triumph. They missed it, she says. They burned the will. They bullied you into silence. But they missed the trust filing because it was done through a separate estate planner. Your father locked this asset down. She stands up and starts pacing the small office. Do you understand what this means? She asks. I shake my head. I am too stunned. It means that the moment Marianne said I do to Rick Henderson 4 years ago, her claim to that house dissolved. Tessa says, the title should have transferred to you automatically. You are not a guest in that house. Lauren, you are not a squatter. You are the landlord. I stare at her. The landlord. I think about the roof I paid to fix. I think about the property taxes I covered because Marianne cried poverty. I think about being thrown off the porch of a house that, legally, I have owned for 4 years. They have been living in my house. I say, my voice is shaking. Rent-free, Tessa adds, and borrowing money against the equity of a house they do not own. She sits back down and looks me dead in the eye. This changes everything. This is not just a defense anymore. This is an eviction. But they have the deed. I say, Marianne showed it to me once. She showed you the old deed, Tessa says, or a forgery. It does not matter. The county records control, the trust controls. They have been committing deed fraud every time they signed a document claiming ownership. She pulls a fresh legal pad toward her. Here is the new plan, she says. Her voice is calm, precise, and terrifying. Step 1. We get the protective order. That keeps them away from you physically. Step 2. We file a lis pendens on the property. That is a Latin term that basically means lawsuit pending. It puts a big red flag on the title. It means no bank in the world will lend them another dime against that house. If they try to refinance to pay off the debts they racked up in your name, the bank will see the flag and slam the door. Step 3. We file a petition to enforce the trust. We demand an accounting of all years they lived there illegally. We demand back rent. Back rent? I ask. Market rate for 4 years, Tessa says, plus interest, plus damages for the degradation of the property. I feel a strange sensation in my chest. It is the feeling of gravity shifting. For years, I have felt small. I have felt like I was standing at the bottom of a hill while they rolled boulders down at me. Now, suddenly, I am at the top of the hill. They don't know, do they? I ask. They have no idea, Tessa says. They think they successfully stole the house. They think you are just a nuisance they can scare off with nasty text messages. She leans forward. When we serve them with these papers, Lauren, it is going to be the shock of their lives. They are going to realize that the person they treated like a servant was actually the owner of the castle. I look at the video still on the screen. Rick's angry face. Marianne's closed curtains. They told me to leave, I say softly. Marianne threw my bag out and said, "If you want to be independent, go be independent outside." Tessa nods. Well, she says, she got her wish. You are independent, and she is trespassing. I pick up the stack of papers. The trust document is heavy in my hand. It feels heavier than the medical records. It feels like my father's hand on my shoulder. He tried. I think he knew Marianne would try to take everything. He knew she would prioritize a new man over his daughter, so he built a fail-safe. He built a time bomb, set to explode the moment she betrayed his memory by marrying Rick. And I am the one holding the match. What do I do now, I ask. You go back to Miles's house, Tessa says. You keep your head down. You let me draft the paperwork, and you wait for Christmas. Christmas? I ask. It is December 28th. I mean the metaphorical Christmas, Tessa says, smiling, the day the process server knocks on their door. I stand up. My ribs still ache. My cheek is still purple. But I feel stronger than I have in years. I came in here thinking I was fighting to get my name off a loan. I am leaving knowing that I'm fighting to take back my birthright. Thank you. Tessa, I say. Don't thank me, she says, already typing again. Thank your dad. He played the long game. I walk out of the office and into the cold winter air. I look up at the gray sky. Thank you, Dad, I whisper. I get into my car and drive back to the neighborhood. When I turn onto Maple Street, I see the house. It looks different now. It does not look like a fortress of rejection. It looks like a stolen object. I park in Miles's driveway. I see him standing in the window, watching. He waves. I walk up the path to his door, clutching the folder Tessa gave me. Marianne and Rick are inside that house right now, probably eating leftovers, probably complaining about me. They are warm, they are comfortable. Enjoy it. I think, enjoy the heat while it lasts. Because the landlord is home. November has settled over the city, bringing with it a gray, steel-colored sky that matches my new mood. It has been 11 months since the night I was thrown off the porch. 11 months of silence, of strategy, and of rebuilding a life that looks nothing like the one I left behind in Cedar Hollow. I am living in a studio apartment 3 towns over. It is small, just 400 square feet. But I pay the rent with my own money, from a bank account that no one else has access to. The walls are bare except for a calendar where I mark the court dates in red ink. I am working part-time as a triage nurse at a community clinic and spending the rest of my week as a health advisor for a nonprofit that helps medical workers dealing with burnout. It is quiet work. It is honest work. And most importantly, it is work that Marianne cannot claim credit for. The legal battle has been a slow, grinding war of attrition. Tessa warned me that civil litigation is not a sprint. It is a siege. And she was right. We filed the lis pendens on the house in February. It acted exactly like the anchor Tessa promised it would be. In March, I received a notification from my credit monitoring service, the one Miles helped me set up, showing a hard inquiry from a mortgage lender. Rick had tried to refinance the house. I can only imagine the scene at the bank. I picture Rick sitting in a leather chair, wearing his best suit, smelling of mints and desperation, waiting for the loan officer to smile and hand him a check. Instead, the officer would have frowned at the screen and said, "Mr. Henderson, there is a flag on this title. We cannot touch this property." That was the first time they realized the locks had been changed, even if they still held the physical keys. Since then, the anger coming from Cedar Hollow has shifted from explosive to desperate. The banks have frozen the fraudulent loans pending the identity theft investigation. That means the $40,000 of credit they were living on simply vanished. They are cash poor and asset rich, but the asset is radioactive. I check my phone during my lunch break. I do not follow Kayla on social media anymore. Miles insisted I block them all to prevent accidental engagement, but Sarah still sends me screenshots when something interesting happens. Today, she sent a picture of a post Kayla made last night. Some people are so toxic they will ruin their own family just to feel powerful. It is sad when jealousy destroys the holiday spirit. We are struggling because of lies, but we will rise above. The engagement on the post is low. 6 likes, 2 comments. 1 is from a bot selling sunglasses. The town is getting tired of the drama. For the first 6 months, Kayla played the victim card hard. She posted daily updates about mom's failing health, about how the stress of the false accusations was killing her. But when people offered to bring casseroles, they noticed things. They noticed the new truck in the driveway was gone, repossessed quietly in the night. They noticed Marianne complaining about the cost of heating oil. The narrative of the ungrateful daughter works only as long as the family looks successful. When the family starts looking like they are drowning in debt that they blamed on the daughter, people start to do the math. I close the image. I do not feel the urge to reply anymore. I do not feel the burning need to defend myself. I have learned that the truth does not need a Facebook status. It just needs a docket number. At 5 o'clock, I drive to Harbor Line Legal Aid. It is time for our monthly strategy meeting. The final hearing, the one that will decide the fate of the trust and the ownership of the house, is scheduled for December 22nd, 3 days before Christmas. The timing is poetic. Tessa says it is just the court calendar, but I think the universe has a sense of irony. I walk into the conference room. Miles is already there. He has a thick binder open in front of him. He looks healthier than he did last year. The gray color is gone from his skin, replaced by the flush of purpose. Being the architect of this case has given him a second wind. Tessa walks in, carrying a tablet. She looks like a shark who just smelled blood in the water. "We have news," she says, sitting down. "Good or bad?" I ask. "Interesting," she says. She slides the tablet across the table. It is a digital flyer. The background is a stock photo of a snowy house that looks suspiciously like mine. The text reads, "The Henderson Holiday Hope Fundraiser. Join us for a night of charity and cheer at the Carter Henderson residence. December 20th. Tickets are $50. Proceeds go to support local families in crisis." I stare at it. Support local families in crisis. They mean themselves. They are charging the neighbors $50 a head to come drink cheap punch in a house they are about to lose, under the guise of charity. "The audacity is breathtaking," Miles says, tapping the binder. "They are soliciting funds on a property that is currently under litigation for fraud. They are trying to rehabilitate their image." I say, "They know the court date is 2 days after this party. They want to pack the house with witnesses who will say what good. Christian people they are. They want to create a wall of community support to intimidate the judge." Tessa nods. "Exactly. They want to turn the courtroom into a town hall meeting. They want to say, 'Look, the whole town loves us. Lauren is the outlier.'" I feel a flicker of the old anxiety. What if it works? What if the judge sees a room full of character witnesses and decides the trust document is a technicality? Tessa leans forward. Her eyes are glittering. "Lauren," she says softly, "never interrupt your enemy when they are making a mistake." "What do you mean?" "This party is a gift," Tessa says. "They are inviting the entire town into the crime scene. They are acting as owners of a property they know is contested. Every ticket they sell is evidence of unjust enrichment. Every speech Marianne gives about hardship while standing in a 4-bedroom colonial she does not own is testimony we can use to impeach her character." She looks at Miles. "We are not going to stop the party," she says. "We are going to document it." Miles smiles. "I have already pulled the permit records. They did not file for a temporary event permit for a gathering of over 50 people. That is a code violation. And I have the drone ready." "The drone?" I ask. "I bought it last month," Miles says casually. "It has a very good zoom lens. If they are parking cars on the lawn, I will have it in 4K resolution." We spend the next 2 hours rehearsing. This is not a legal prep. It feels more like planning a heist. But instead of stealing a diamond, we are planning to steal the narrative. Tessa plays the role of the opposing counsel. She stands at the end of the table and drills me. "Ms. Carter, isn't it true you abandoned your mother on Christmas night?" I take a breath. I keep my voice flat, devoid of emotion. I channel the nurse who has to tell a family that their father has passed away. Clear, direct, irrefutable. No, I was physically removed from the premises by Rick Henderson at 10:42 post-meridian. I sustained a contusion to the left zygomatic arch and a hairline fracture to the third rib. But they say you were hysterical, Tessa presses. They say you were threatening them. My toxicity screen from the urgent care the next morning was negative. My blood pressure recorded at 8:15 ante-meridian was 110/70. The video evidence timestamps show I was silent during the ejection. You hate your family, don't you? Tessa asks, her voice rising. Trying to bait me. You want to see them on the street. I pause. This is the trap. This is where the old Lauren would cry and say no. I just want them to love me. The new Lauren looks at the binder of evidence. I want the trust established by my father, Thomas Carter, to be executed according to the law. I want the $42,000 of debt taken out in my name to be assigned to the individuals who spent it. Feelings are not relevant to the deed. Tessa stops. She claps her hands once. Perfect, she says. Do not give them an inch of emotion. If you get angry, you look like the unstable daughter they described. If you stay clinical, you look like the owner. Miles opens his binder. I have the weather data ready for submission, he says. He shows me a chart. It is beautiful in its obsessiveness. He has logged the hourly temperature of Cedar Hollow for every Christmas night for the last 10 years. Why do we need 10 years of data? I ask. To prove the anomaly. Miles explains. Last year was a historic low. It was the coldest night of the decade. They cannot argue, they didn't know it was that cold. It was on every news channel. Putting you out there was not just mean. It was calculated cruelty. He flips the page. And I have the sound logs, he says. Sound logs? My camera records audio decibels, Miles says. At the moment, you were screaming to be let back in. The music inside the house was turned up to 80 decibels. That is the volume of a lawnmower. They drowned you out intentionally. I look at the two of them, my legal team, a shark in a suit and a retired neighbor with a surveillance hobby. They are the family I chose, or maybe the family that fate sent me as an apology for the first one. What do I do about the party? I ask. Do I just sit in my apartment and know they are celebrating in my house? Tessa smiles. No, she says, you are going to send an RSVP. I blink. Excuse me? Not to attend, she clarifies. But we are going to send a formal notice to their attorney. They finally got a public defender, stating that as the potential equitable owner of the property, you do not consent to the commercial use of the residence for the fundraiser. But they will ignore it, I say. Exactly, Tessa says. And when they ignore it and hold the party anyway, the judge will see it as willful contempt of a pending legal action. It is the final nail in the coffin. We are handing them the hammer. Lauren, all they have to do is swing it. I leave the office feeling a strange sense of calm. The heist is set. The pieces are in place. I drive home to my small apartment. I make dinner for one, a simple pasta dish, and eat it at my small table. It is quiet. No one is asking me for money. No one is yelling at me about being ungrateful. I open my laptop and look at the file Miles sent me. It is a new video clip from his camera, taken yesterday. It shows Marianne standing on the porch. My porch. She is hanging a wreath on the door. It is a big, expensive wreath with gold ribbons. She adjusts it, steps back, admires it, and then checks her phone. She looks stressed. She snaps at Rick, who comes out holding a box of lights. They are decorating a sinking ship. I zoom in on the door. I can see the scratches near the handle where I pounded on it last year. They painted over them, but the wood is still uneven. They tried to cover it up. They tried to paint over the violence, but the texture remains. I close the laptop. I am not going to crash their party. I am not going to scream at them on the lawn in front of the neighbors. That is what the old Lauren would have done. That is what a victim does. A landlord waits for the lease to expire, and their lease expires in 3 weeks. I go to my closet and pull out the suit I bought for court. It is navy blue, tailored, professional. It is the kind of suit a woman wears when she is signing a contract, not when she is pleading for mercy. I hang it on the back of the door. Let them have their party, I whisper to the empty room. Let them play the part of the benevolent hosts one last time. Let them invite the whole town to witness their charity. Because when the gavel comes down, every single person who drank their punch and ate their cookies is going to remember that they were partying in a stolen house. And that memory will be my revenge. It will not be a scream. It will be a whisper that follows them for the rest of their lives in this town. Did you know? The neighbors will say, did you know we were standing in Lauren's living room while they lied about her? I turn off the lights. The red circle on my calendar seems to glow in the dark. December 22nd. The day the locks change. Courtroom 3B smells like floor wax, stale coffee, and the specific kind of anxiety that only exists when family secrets are about to be read into the public record. It is December 18th, exactly 1 week before Christmas. Outside, the snow is falling in soft, innocent flakes. Inside, the air conditioning is set to a temperature that feels like a morgue. I am sitting at the plaintiff's table next to Tessa. I am wearing my navy blue suit. My hair is pulled back in a tight bun. I have no makeup on to hide the faint yellowing shadow on my cheekbone. The last ghost of the bruise Marianne gave me. On the other side of the aisle, the defense table looks like a tableau from a soap opera. Marianne is wearing a cardigan in a soft, non-threatening shade of oatmeal. She is clutching a handkerchief. Her eyes are red, likely irritated by the same onions she used for her Facebook photos. But to the untrained eye, she looks like the picture of maternal grief. Rick sits beside her. He is wearing a suit that is slightly too tight across the shoulders, and his jaw is set so hard I can see the muscle jumping. He refuses to look at the judge. Instead, he stares at me. His eyes are dark, promising retribution, screaming the word traitor without opening his mouth. Behind them, in the gallery benches, sit the spectators. It is a small crowd, but a significant one. Mrs. Higgins from the choir, Mr. Henderson's drinking buddies, a few neighbors who attended the charity party 2 days ago. They are here for the show. They are here to see the ungrateful daughter get put in her place. Tessa leans over to me. Her voice is a whisper, barely audible. Do not turn around, she says. Do not look at them. Keep your eyes on the judge. You are not the defendant today. You are the plaintiff. Act like it. I nod. I lace my fingers together on the table to stop them from shaking. The bailiff announces the judge. The Honorable Sarah Sterling enters. She is a woman in her 60s with reading glasses perched on the end of her nose and a face that suggests she has heard every lie ever told in this county and is bored by all of them. We are here for the matter of Carter versus Henderson, Judge Sterling says, shuffling papers. We have a request for a permanent protective order and a motion regarding the status of the Thomas Carter Trust. Marianne's lawyer stands up. He is a local guy named Mr. Finch. He wears a tie that is too loud and a smile that is too oily. Your Honor, he begins, his voice booming for the benefit of the audience. This entire motion is a tragedy. We have here a young woman, Ms. Carter, who has unfortunately suffered a severe mental break due to the high stress of her job as a trauma nurse. I feel the heat rise in my neck. Mental break. That is the narrative. She came home for Christmas in a state of agitation. Mr. Finch continues, gesturing sadly toward me. She became violent. My clients, her loving parents, tried to restrain her for her own safety. In the struggle, she slipped on the icy porch. Now, in her confused state, she has concocted this story of assault to cover her shame. He pauses for effect. We do not want a restraining order, Your Honor. We want our daughter to get help. We want her to come home. I hear a soft murmur of sympathy from the benches behind me. Poor Marianne. Someone whispers, such a good mother. Rick nods solemnly, playing the part of the concerned patriarch. Tessa stands up. She does not boom. She does not gesture. She slices through the room like a scalpel. Your Honor, she says coolly, Mr. Finch tells a very moving story, but in this courtroom, we prefer evidence over storytelling. She picks up a remote control. We would like to submit Exhibit A. This is surveillance footage captured by the neighbor across the street, Mr. Miles Vance, on the night of December 25th. Mr. Finch jumps up. Objection! Violation of privacy! Overruled, the judge says. Looking over her glasses, it is a public street view. Play the tape. Tessa points the remote at the large monitor mounted on the wall. The room goes silent. On the screen, the grainy but sharp black and white footage begins. The timestamp reads 10:42 at night. The door opens. I see myself stumbling backward. I see Rick follow. There is no struggle to restrain. There is only a shove, a violent, two-handed shove that sends me flying. The sound echoes in the quiet courtroom. Thud. Then Marianne's voice, shrill and clear. If you want to be independent, go be independent outside. The door slams. The lock clicks. The video continues. It shows me pounding on the door. It shows me sliding down the railing. It shows the lights of the house burning warmly while I curl into a ball on the ice. Tessa lets it play for a full minute of me freezing on the porch before she pauses it. The silence in the room is different now. It is heavy. It is the silence of people realizing they have been lied to. From the back row, a voice, I think it is Mrs. Higgins, whispers loudly, "Oh my God, I was sitting on the sofa right then. I thought she left on her own." Rick shifts in his seat. He pulls at his collar. Marianne has stopped dabbing her eyes. She is staring at the table, her face pale. Tessa does not give them time to recover. Your Honor, she says, the defense claims Ms. Carter slipped. We would like to call Dr. Evans from Ridgeway Urgent Care via video link. The screen switches. Dr. Evans appears, wearing his white coat, sitting in his office. Dr. Evans, Tessa asks, you examined Ms. Carter on the morning of December 26th. Can you describe her injuries? Dr. Evans looks at his notes. Patient presented with a large ecchymosis, that is a bruise, on the left zygomatic arch, consistent with a strike from a blunt object or a hand. She also had a contusion on the right rib cage and linear abrasions on the upper arm. And in your professional medical opinion, Tessa asks, were these injuries consistent with a slip and fall on ice? No. Dr. Evans says firmly, the bruising on the arm was consistent with a finger grip pattern, indicating she was grabbed forcefully. The facial injury was consistent with a direct blow, not an impact with the ground. I marked the chart as injuries consistent with assault. Thank you, Doctor. Tessa turns to the judge. So, we have a video of the assault. We have medical confirmation of the assault. And we have the audio of the defendants mocking the victim while she froze in sub-zero temperatures. Mr. Finch stands up, looking flustered. Your Honor, emotions were high. It was a family dispute. It does not justify a restraining order that bans a mother from seeing her child. It justifies it if the dispute was about $40,000 of stolen money. Tessa counters. She drops the next bomb. She picks up a stack of papers. We are submitting Exhibit C, a timeline of loans taken out in Lauren Carter's name. She walks toward the witness stand, where Rick has been called up to explain the family dynamics. Mr. Henderson, Tessa says, standing casually in front of him. You work in used car sales, correct? Rick glares at her. I am an automotive inventory manager. And part of your job involves financing? Running credit checks? Yes. Tessa hands him a piece of paper. Do you recognize this document? It is a loan application for $15,000 from First Horizon Lending. Rick glances at it. No, I don't know that. Really? Tessa asks. Because it lists your home address, and the IP address used to submit it matches the computer in your home office, and the email used was created on a device registered to your wife. Rick crosses his arms. My wife handles the bills. I don't look at every paper. Tessa smiles. It is a dangerous smile. Interesting, because here is the power of attorney document used to secure that loan. And look at the bottom. It is notarized. She projects the document onto the screen. Is that your notary stamp, Mr. Henderson? Rick looks at the screen. He licks his lips. Yes, that is my stamp. And did you notarize a document giving your wife power over your stepdaughter's finances to take out a loan that was deposited into a joint account that you access? Rick's face turns red. Listen, you are twisting it. Lauren agreed to help us. She knows we are tight on cash. So she signed this in front of you? Tessa asks. Yes, Rick snaps. She signed it. Tessa pulls out another piece of paper. That is fascinating, Mr. Henderson, because on the date this document was notarized, August 15th, Ms. Carter's employment records show she was clocking into a shift at her hospital in the city, 3 hours away. The courtroom gasps. It is a cliché, but they actually gasp. Tessa leans in. So either Ms. Carter can be in 2 places at once, or you notarized a signature that was not signed in your presence, which is a felony fraud, Mr. Henderson. Rick slams his hand on the railing. The calm facade cracks wide open. You don't understand, he shouts, his voice echoing off the wood paneling. We needed the liquidity. Lauren has perfect credit. She wasn't using it. We are family. We just used her name for a while to get the bank credibility. She was going to inherit the house anyway. So it is basically her money we were spending. The room freezes. Tessa stands up straight. She looks at the court reporter. Did you get that? She asks. The reporter nods. We just used her name to get the bank credibility. Rick freezes. He realizes what he just said. He looks at Marianne. Marianne has her face buried in her hands. She knows. She knows he just confessed to bank fraud on the record. Tessa turns to the judge. Your Honor, the defendant just admitted to identity theft and fraud in open court to justify his abuse. I think we are done here regarding the credibility of the defense. Judge Sterling looks at Rick. Her expression is one of pure disgust. Mr. Henderson, you will step down, and I would advise you to stop talking until you have a criminal defense attorney present, because Mr. Finch here represents you in civil matters, and you just crossed a very different line. Rick stumbles down from the stand. He looks smaller now. The bulky, intimidating man who threw me off the porch has shrunk into a petty crook who got caught by a spreadsheet. Tessa moves to the final point. The house. Your Honor, regarding the trust, we have submitted the deed of trust filed by Thomas Carter. It states clearly that upon the remarriage of Marianne Carter, the equitable title transfers to Lauren Carter. Mr. Finch tries one last Hail Mary, Your Honor. That trust was never executed. Marianne has paid the bills for years. She has squatter's rights. Judge Sterling picks up the trust document. Mr. Finch, a trust executes automatically upon the triggering event. The marriage certificate is the trigger. Marianne Carter has been living in a house owned by Lauren Carter for 4 years. She is not a squatter with rights. She is a tenant in arrears. The judge looks at me. For the first time, her eyes are soft. Ms. Carter, I am granting the permanent protective order, 5 years. They are not to contact you, not to come within 500 feet of your residence or place of employment. She turns to Marianne and Rick. Furthermore, I am ordering a forensic accounting of all assets connected to the Thomas Carter Trust. I am issuing a temporary injunction preventing the defendants from selling, refinancing, or altering the property at 512 Maple Street. And frankly, if I were you, I would start packing. She bangs the gavel. It sounds like a gunshot. All rise. The courtroom erupts into whispers. I sit there for a moment, letting the air fill my lungs. It is over. The legal part isn't finished. There will be more filings, more accounting, but the story is over. Their version of the story is dead. I stand up and turn around. I see Mrs. Higgins. She looks at me, then looks at Marianne. She picks up her purse and walks out without saying a word to the grieving mother. One by one, the neighbors file out. They avoid eye contact with Rick. They distance themselves from the infection. Marianne stands up. She wipes her face. The tissue is dry. The tears are gone. She looks at me across the aisle. The mask is completely gone now. There is no sadness in her eyes, only a cold, venomous hate. "You think you won?" she hisses. "You just destroyed your own family. You will be alone on Christmas." I look at her. I look at the woman who raised me, who I paid bills for, who I tried so hard to please. I look at Rick, who is arguing with Mr. Finch in the corner, his face purple with rage. I pick up my bag. "I won't be alone, Marianne," I say calmly. "I will be with the people who believe me. And you? You will be with the debt." I turn my heel and walk out of the courtroom. Tessa is waiting for me in the hallway. She is grinning. "Did you hear him?" she asks. We just used her name for credibility. I almost did a cartwheel. Miles is there too. He pats my shoulder. "Good job, kid. You held the line." We walk out of the courthouse together, into the falling snow. The air is cold, but it doesn't bite anymore. It feels fresh. It feels clean. I check my phone. There is a text from Sarah. "OMG, Mrs. Higgins just posted on the church group chat. Pray for Lauren. The truth always comes out. The tide has turned, babe." I smile. I look back at the courthouse. Marianne and Rick are still inside, trapped in the legal wreckage they created. They have to go back to the house now, my house, and look at the walls they don't own, waiting for the eviction notice. Next week is Christmas. Last year, I was on the porch, bleeding. This year, I am the one holding the keys. And I have one more surprise for them. The party. The charity fundraiser they are still planning to hold in 2 days, pretending everything is fine. Tessa said the judge's injunction prevents them from altering the property. It didn't say anything about me, the legal owner, inspecting it. I get in my car. "Where to?" Miles asks. "I think I need to buy a dress." I say, "For a party." Miles laughs. "You are not going to the party. Look at the protective order." "I know," I say, "but the drone is going, and I want to be dressed for the occasion when we watch the feed. The war is won. Now, we just watch the surrender. It is exactly 365 days since I almost froze to death." The date on my phone reads December 25th. Outside, the weather is almost identical to last year. The wind is howling, carrying a bitter chill that cuts through coats and scarves. But inside my new apartment, the air is warm and smells of rosemary, roasted garlic, and the apple crumble cooling on the counter. I am not in a mansion. My apartment is a 2-bedroom walk-up in a quiet neighborhood 20 minutes from the city. The furniture is mismatched. A sofa I bought from a colleague, a table I found at an estate sale. But I own every single piece of it. There are no liens on this furniture. There are no ghosts in these walls. I am hosting dinner tonight. It is a small group. Sarah, the nurse who defended me in the group chat, is here, pouring wine. 2 colleagues from the nonprofit program where I now work are laughing on the sofa. And sitting in the armchair of honor is Miles. Miles looks different than he did a year ago. The gray pallor of his stroke recovery has been replaced by a healthy flush. He is wearing a sweater that is objectively ugly, a bright red thing with a reindeer on it, that Sarah bought him as a joke, but he wears it with the dignity of a Supreme Court justice. We have just finished eating. The plates are cleared. The mood is light, filled with the kind of easy, safe laughter that I never heard in my father's house. Then, my phone vibrates on the table. It is a notification from my email app, Priority Sender, Tessa Monroe. The room fades away for a second. I pick up the phone. My hand is steady. Subject: Final Judgment. Carter v. Henderson. I open the attachment. It is a 20-page PDF, but Tessa has summarized the ruling in the body of the email. Lauren. Judge Sterling signed the order at 4 o'clock this afternoon. The court has validated the Thomas Carter Irrevocable Trust. The deed transfer is effective immediately. The property at 512 Maple Street is legally yours. Furthermore, the court has ordered the eviction of the current occupants within 30 days. Rick and Marianne have been ordered to remove all liens associated with the fraudulent loans from the property title within 60 days, or face contempt of court charges. Merry Christmas, landlord. I read the words twice, legally yours. I look up. Everyone has stopped talking. They are looking at me. Sarah is holding her wine glass mid-air. Miles is watching me over the rim of his spectacles. What is it? Sarah asks softly. Bad news? I look at the screen again. I look at the words that dismantle 10 years of manipulation. No, I say. And then I start to laugh. It is not a loud, boisterous laugh, and it is certainly not a cruel one. It is a quiet, exhaling sound. It is the sound of a heavy backpack finally being dropped after a 10-mile hike. It is the sound of a fever breaking. I show the phone to Miles. He reads it. A slow smile spreads across his face. Justice is served, he says, raising his mug of coffee. I sit back in my chair. I thought I would feel triumphant. I thought I would want to jump up and down and scream, I won. But I do not feel high. I feel grounded. I feel like a dislocated joint has finally been popped back into its socket. The pain is gone, replaced by a dull, throbbing relief. Everything is finally in its right place. The house is mine. The debt is theirs. The truth is public. After dessert, the party winds down. Sarah and the others leave, hugging me tight at the door. Miles stays behind to help me load the dishwasher. I am going to drive over there, I say suddenly. Miles pauses, a plate in his hand. To the house? I nod. I need to see it. I need to know it is real. I will come with you, he says. I need to get home anyway. The drive to Cedar Hollow takes 30 minutes. The roads are empty. The snow is falling in thick, heavy sheets. Just like it did that night. I grip the steering wheel, remembering how my hands shook last year as I drove away from the urgent care. Tonight, my hands are warm. We turn onto Maple Street. I pull my car to the curb in front of Miles's house. I kill the engine. There it is, 512 Maple Street. It looks smaller than I remember. The imposing colonial that loomed over my childhood now just looks like a tired, aging structure. The shutters are peeling. The gutter on the left side is hanging loose, weighted down by ice. A repair they never made because they could no longer use my credit card to pay for it. The lights are on in the living room. The curtains, the ones Marianne yanked shut last year, are open. I can see them. Rick is standing by the fireplace. He is pacing. His arms are waving wildly. He is yelling. I cannot hear him, but I know the body language. He is blaming her. He is blaming the lawyer. He is blaming the world. Marianne is sitting on the sofa. She is not crying this time. She is staring at the wall, a glass of wine in her hand. She looks shrunken. The perfect, controlling matriarch has dissolved, leaving behind a bitter, defeated woman trapped in a house she has to vacate in 30 days. My phone vibrates again. It is a text from Tessa. Just so you know, the sheriff will serve the eviction notice on December 27th. You do not have to be there. I look at the house. I imagine them packing. I imagine Rick trying to fit his ego into a cardboard box. I wait for the satisfaction to hit me. I wait for the thrill of revenge. But it does not come. Instead, I feel a wave of profound exhaustion. I feel a distance so vast, it is like looking at strangers through a telescope. I do not hate them anymore. Hate requires energy. Hate requires attachment. I just feel nothing. They are just people who used to know me. I open the car door and step out into the cold. The wind hits my face, and for a second, the memory of the pain flashes back, the sting of the slap, the ache of the ice, but it is just a memory, fading like a scar. I take a step toward the street. A part of me wants to walk up to the window. I want to knock on the glass. I want them to see me, standing here in my expensive coat, healthy and whole. I want to see the look on their faces when they realize the landlord is watching. Above me, a light flicks on. I look up. On the second floor of the house behind me, the window opens. Miles is there. He must have gone inside while I was staring across the street. He is framed by the yellow light of his office, the bank of monitors glowing blue behind him. He leans out, just like he did last year. The snow swirls between us. "Lauren," he calls out. His voice is deep, calm, and steady. I stop. I look up at him. "Don't go down there," he says. I look back at the house across the street. Rick is now pointing a finger in Marianne's face. It is a scene from a play I have watched 1,000 times. "They will use any moment to perform," Miles says. "If you go over there, you give them an audience. You give them a chance to scream at you, to act like victims, to drag you back into their chaos." He leans further out, resting his hands on the sill. "Tonight is yours. Lauren, it is not theirs. Do not give them the gift of your presence." I freeze. The words settle over me like a warm blanket. Tonight is yours. He is right. If I walk over there, I am engaging. I am participating. I am letting them dictate my movements one last time. "Last year," Miles said, "everything is recorded. He gave me the weapon of truth. This year," he is saying, "don't give them a scene. He is giving me the weapon of indifference." I look at Rick and Marianne one last time. They are trapped in that room, trapped in their lies, trapped in a cycle of debt and blame that will consume them long after they leave this zip code. I do not need to rub it in. Their punishment is being who they are. I smile. It is a real smile this time. I turn my back on 512 Maple Street. I turn my back on the peeling paint, the fake family photos, and the cold porch. I walk up the driveway to Miles's house. I climb the steps that are salted and safe. Miles meets me at the door. He is holding 2 mugs of fresh coffee. "Did you lock the car?" he asks. "I did." I say, "Come in," he says. "The dessert is not going to eat itself." I step inside. The house is warm. It smells of old books and safety. I sit by the window in Miles's living room, but I do not look at the monitors. I do not look at the house across the street. I look at my reflection in the dark glass. I see a woman who owns her own life. I realize then that revenge is not a courtroom verdict. It is not an eviction notice. It is not seeing your enemies cry. Revenge is eating apple crumble on a warm sofa. Surrounded by people who do not require you to bleed for them, revenge is the quiet, absolute silence where their voices used to be. I take a sip of coffee. It is sweet. The house across the street is dark to me now. I have turned off the lights in my mind. And for the first time in 32 years, I am finally, completely home. Thank you so much for listening to this story on the Lila Revenge Stories channel. I would love to know where you are tuning in from today. Are you listening while driving, cooking, or relaxing at home? Please let me know in the comments below. And do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit that hype button so we can bring more stories like Lauren's to you.